Hello and welcome to the Curator Salon podcast. I'm your host, Gita Joshi. My guest today is my dear friend, Victoria Fry. Welcome, Victoria.
Hi, Gita. Thank you so much for having me today. I'm so happy to be here.
I am excited to have you on the podcast. It is long overdue. I know you've been very kind to invite me onto your podcast more than once now. For people who are not familiar with you, can you talk about your work in the arts? I know we've both had a very similar kind of entryway into the work that we're doing right now. If you're not familiar with Victoria, her main platform is called Visionary Art Collective. Victoria, tell us some more about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you so much again. So I started writing a blog in uh, very early 2020, pre-pandemic. I was an art educator at the time, which was a huge passion of mine. I think I'm an educator at heart, is how I like to describe myself. But at the time, I think many educators can relate to this. I was feeling a little bit um, low energy. I felt that there was a lot of pressure on me at the school that I was teaching at. My students were wonderful, but I just really felt like I needed something sort of like a personal project. So I started a blog in February of 2020 where I just started reaching out to artists that I connected with through Instagram. So the blog was called The Insta Art Project. And I just started reaching out to painters and sculptors and really any artist who I felt inspired by and just asking them, can I interview you for my blog? Because I think also at this time, I was feeling really, really disconnected from an art community. I've always been an artist. I went to art school for undergraduate and graduate, but I felt very removed from an art community. And for me, I think also it was a way of just cultivating organic connections with fellow artists from around the world, learning more about their stories, giving them a platform to share their work. And it almost became an obsession. Like I remember blogging on my lunch break, and it started with just one blog post a week. It was then three or four. I had absolutely no intention at the time of it becoming anything other than a blog. It was just something that felt really good. And it wasn't until a few months later that I actually started to think more seriously about what it could evolve into.
So interesting because when I started the Curator Salon, which was, I don't know, like 2017 or something, that was also just a blog. Um,
Mhm.
and it was just a place that I could just write about whatever it is that I had been going to see and the people I had met and the artists I was around and all of that. And there wasn't any intention for it either. It was just like, let's see where that goes. So that's so cool. However, Visionary Art Collective. So how did that actually evolve out of it? Because then we had the pandemic later that year.
Yeah, yeah. And I love that too. Like, I think anytime, just to touch on your point, anytime you go into something with the mantra of like, let's just see what happens, it's you open yourself up to so many possibilities and just allow that thing to become whatever it's meant to be without pressure. So I love that you also had that approach. So yeah, the pandemic hit, and at the time, Kat Popova had started the Art Queens, which was and still is such an amazing and supportive community. And I saw that Kat was taking on clients to mentor, to coach in her one-on-one coaching program. And I thought, I've never done anything like this. Let me try it. Let me just see. I mean, Kat is amazing. And like I said, I was part of her group program. So I saw how incredible she was and how impactful her work was. And I have to give so much credit to Kat because she was the first person who said to me, do you think this could be more than just a blog? I really think this could be something more. And her belief in me and coupled with the pandemic and just having so much time indoors and like time to really think about these things, everything just came to a stop. I started kind of dreaming up different possibilities and thinking about how it could be something more. So I started working on a website. Kat was encouraging me to just journal as much as I could and to really think of like how I wanted this to go with the vision for Visionary Art Collective. And I spent a couple of months building up the website. I knew that the artist interviews were going to continue to be an integral part, just because that's kind of all the blog was just composed of interviews. So I knew I wanted to continue with the artist interviews. And then I started thinking, well, what other resources can I provide? So I started creating these free downloads. And I think now we have like close to 100 in our digital library. It started as free downloads that I was creating for art educators because I was still in the classroom at the time. Well, when the pandemic hit, not as much, it was more virtual. But what I found as an art educator was that there were not many resources when it came to teaching about artists of color, um, and women artists and contemporary artists. When you would look online, it was like lessons on Van Gogh and Monet, and I just was felt like I was kind of inventing these lessons all the time, but I wanted there to be a place for other educators to access these kinds of resources. So I started creating these free guides, and then I expanded to creating guides for emerging artists as well. And then I started thinking, well, maybe I could teach a workshop for emerging artists, because I found that a lot of artists that I was connecting with had, basic questions about how to create a website or how to take good quality images of their work, how to market their work on social media, those kinds of things. And I thought, well, I could support them with that. From the workshop, which I still teach today, the Emerging Artist Workshop, although it's gone through several iterations since 2020. Um, from there, I started working with artists one-on-one, and then that's when the programs happened. I started teaching online courses, um, and just I'm laughing because this cat is all over me right now. But yeah, that's kind of how the programs were born. And then I opened my online community membership, which I had the great pleasure of having you as a guest in January. So the programs have continued to grow and expand. And I always say, I think my educational programs at this point are really the heart of everything that I'm doing for VAC.
Nice. And then when did you launch the magazine? Because, like, similarly, you have a podcast and a magazine. When did they launch?
Yeah, so the magazine was January of 2022. So we're coming up to issue 11. Um, so yeah, about 2.5 years ago. The podcast was September of 2022. So that's coming up to 2 years, which feels really crazy. I don't know if I even realized that until just now. Um, yeah. So both of those things happened in 2022. And that was both the magazine and the podcast, just like, it gave us really an opportunity to expand our reach, to feature more artists, to share their stories on the podcast, and also to have amazing curators like yourself and other artist advisors and other professionals in the art world to come on and share their advice and wisdom as well.
Nice. Yeah, I think that's it, isn't it? Because now the magazine and the podcast and thing also help us sort of amplify artists' voices right alongside the blog. So it's just kind of doing it through different mediums in that sort of way.
Mhm.
And then more recently, you've also opened a gallery space. Can you share more about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So during the pandemic, we were facilitating a lot of online exhibitions. One that you had curated, a beautiful abstract show that we did. And that was really, really wonderful. So many galleries at the time had closed their doors, and the virtual exhibitions were really popular. We still do virtual exhibitions to this day. But I think, especially coming out of the pandemic, I was really craving a space to show artists' work in person. I knew it would be a massive undertaking. And, I always try and prepare myself as much as possible, but I think so much of it is just learning as you go and kind of like learning through the experience. So for a long time, when I had been thinking about opening a gallery here in New York City, I thought, okay, well, the vision I had was a ground floor gallery in a central neighborhood, like maybe the Lower East Side or Soho. Of course, when I saw what the rent was, I thought, well, maybe that's more in the future. But I came back to this idea over and over again, and I thought, well, what could I do with the budget that we have in, maybe it's not in Manhattan, maybe it's in Brooklyn. And I try to always come from this perspective of what can you do with what you have? And knowing that that vision of a ground floor gallery could be something that happens later on. But there was this space in a building in Red Hook, which is a very cool artsy neighborhood in Brooklyn, but it's a little bit lesser known. There was this beautiful space on the second floor, and I opened the door, and the space was available for rent. And I remember thinking this would be such a beautiful gallery space. Like it's within our budget. It's a little bit of a stretch, but we can make it work. And so I signed for that space. It was month to month, which was nice because that also gave us some flexibility. We had our first exhibition there in September featuring the work of Melanie Reese, who is a wonderful painter based here in Brooklyn. And then after that exhibition, I thought, this is a little bit tough for people to get to. Red Hook is known for not having a direct subway line. And even though we had an amazing turnout for Mel's show with probably close to 100 people, I just knew that we needed to move somewhere more centrally located. So we closed our doors for the winter. I found a space in March in Gowanus, which is not too far away, but it's a little bit closer to the subway. Um, and Gowanus is also just a wonderful neighborhood that really values art and artists. I found a space there. We reopened in April with an exhibition. We had partnered up with Sergio Gomez for a juried exhibition featuring 25 artists from all over the country, which was a huge undertaking, but it was amazing. We had artists flying in for the opening. It was beautiful. And now we're gearing up for a solo show with Mayowa Nwadike, who is also an artist based here in New York City. So I'm really focusing on supporting emerging and early career artists through this space.
And are they mostly artists that you were already aware of, or have they come into your orbit through things like the magazine and Instagram and so on?
Yeah, both. So I should probably mention the name of the gallery is Warren's Contemporary. And the way I've connected with artists, it's really been a combination. Mel, I knew I had worked with her previously. Mayowa actually so the first exhibition that we ever did before we even secured a gallery space was in Tribeca last April of 2023. And I essentially just rented a space in Tribeca for 10 days. We did a big group show there with 6 amazing women painters. And Mayowa had come to the opening, and we just got to talking about his work. And he approached me in a way that was very, like, first we were talking about the show, and he loved the work of the painters that was on display. And then I asked him, "Are you an artist?" He showed me some images of his work, and I thought, wow, you are amazing. Like, these are beautiful portraits. Let's chat a little bit about possibly collaborating next year. So with Mayowa, it was kind of just an organic thing with him coming to the show. I think he discovered my platform through Instagram. But yeah, it's really been a mix, and we're gearing up for another show this fall. And that has been a combination of one artist that I met through also at the opening for Reflections of Us. And then another artist that I have been working with her through my mentorship program, and she's amazing as well. So, and then we'll probably have a few more. So yeah.
So that is what, at least 3 shows till the end of the year, is it?
Yeah, it'll be 3 shows this year. And then I think next year we're going to move towards 1 per quarter. I don't know if I can do more than one per quarter, but I think just having one every season will be nice. But I'm in the early stages, so I'm really just gathering intel right now and seeing what works.
Amazing. And have you found that your visitors do find your new location more accessible?
Yeah, slightly. I mean, it's definitely closer to a subway. I describe it as an up and coming neighborhood. It is definitely up and coming. Um, but it's like 2 or 3 blocks from the subway station, and we're on the second floor. So when we do have an opening, we have someone holding the door open. We have clear signs directing everyone to the gallery space. I always say it's a humble beginning. It's a modest start. And when I saw this space, I thought, well, I'm going to do my best to make it beautiful, which I think we've done. I really invested in installing some gorgeous gallery lighting, which makes a huge difference. And it's a small space. I mean, I think it's 270 square feet, but it's by appointment only in between the openings and the closings. We're starting to do more programming as well. So with Mayowa, we're going to do an artist talk. We're going to do a closing reception. We might even do something else as well. So yeah.
Amazing. It has been incredible seeing your journey. Thank you for sharing so much about it. Just going back a step, so with, as our listeners will know, both of us at this point are supporting artists through various mentoring and coaching. Can you share about your emerging artists program? How long is it? What level? I know we use this word emerging to be, it's very much an umbrella term, but what is a good, what's the point, entry level or, you know, for the ideal student?
Yeah, absolutely. So, definitely an umbrella term. I find that most of the artists I work with are either just starting their art careers or returning after a long hiatus. Many of the artists I work with individually or in my group programs are artists who um, perhaps started an art career or went to art school and then took time off to raise their families or to do something else and are now returning after maybe 15 years, some of them 20 years, and kind of figuring out, okay, well, how do I create a presence for my work now? I've stepped away for so long. And then there are other artists I work with who are self-taught and didn't have the formal training. And I work with artists of so many different levels there. And like I said, I'm starting to work with some mid-career artists as well. But for the one-on-one program, it really is more for artists who are either the very beginning of their careers and looking for that foundational support or returning after a long hiatus.
And how long is your emerging artist program?
So it's 3 months. I do a 12-week group program called the Artist Glow Up program. That's 3 months. And my one-on-one program is also 3 months.
Nice. And when does the Glow Up next open for enrollment?
I'm planning for October. So I teach it 3 times a year. And yeah, we're planning to open doors soon to start actually teaching the course again in October.
Beautiful. Is there anything else you would like to share before we wrap up? I think that's been a beautiful introduction to you, to our audience, and I know we're going to have you back very soon. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, the biggest thing we're focusing on right now, in addition to my group programs, my mentorship program, is the gallery, and it's just been such an exciting thing. So I think that's kind of where my brain is at right now, especially with the opening this week. Although I'm sure when this airs, it will have already happened, but the show will still be up. But yeah, it's been amazing. I'll just kind of wrap up by saying I feel so lucky that I get to do this. I truly don't take it for granted. I feel like it's a blessing. And I learn so much from the artists that I work with. Yeah, it feels very aligned and I just feel super grateful. And I'm so happy we connected as well. You are doing such amazing work, Gita. And I tell you all the time, the course that you teach with Kat, every artist that I work with, I recommend it to them. I love seeing your posts about the magazine. And you're such an inspiration to me as well.
Oh, well, thank you, my love. Well, it's been amazing getting to know you these last few years. So feel like this podcast has been, long overdue. Victoria, thank you so much for being my guest. I know we will have you back soon in a couple of months, and I will add links to the various projects, Visionary Art Collective, the magazine, Warner's Contemporary in the show notes, so you can visit Victoria online or at any of her projects.
Thank you so much, Gita. I really appreciate it.